Welcome to Getting Real with John Natale. I'm your host today, guys, John Natale, to discuss negotiating for the win. This episode today is going to be a very tactical one. I know you guys love these, so we're going to go through all the different things that you need to think about, things you need to say, questions you need to ask during a negotiation so you can win for your clients, get deals done, and create, as close as possible, create an environment in which everybody feels like they won. Before we dive into today's episode, guys, I have to take a minute to thank you for listening to this podcast, watching our content, everything we're putting out to help you succeed in your business. I'm so damn appreciative of you for taking some time to listen to this today. If you're watching on YouTube as well, I'm appreciative that you've taken this time. Pull up, watch this beautiful face. Let me give a little bit of advice to you on how to grow your business. This podcast is helping change people's lives. We are seeing a dramatic rise in listeners, viewership, everything, and I'm so damn appreciative of how well this is growing. If you could take it a step further, share this with a friend. Share this episode. If it's somebody in your office that you know needs some help with negotiating, share this episode with them. Connect with us social media. On Instagram, John C. Natale. On TikTok, John C. Natale. On YouTube, John C. Natale. I'm here to help you guys grow your business and grow your life. If you're an agent here in New Jersey, a real estate professional here in New Jersey, we have a very dynamic real estate company for you to join. There's information below. Book a call with me. Let's discuss getting you into some of our systems that are working for agents right here in New Jersey. If you're across the country, one of the other 49 states of our beautiful country, or international as well, we have an insanely fast-growing coaching organization. We are, at time of recording, just about at 40 agents across the country that are in our Natale family from something we started only about 8 or so months ago. So please, if you have any interest in joining our Natale family, there's tons of information below. There's a link to book a completely free discovery call with me. Go and hit that link. There's no obligation, no cost. Let's just discuss your options to help you grow your business and grow your life. And if you're a business owner listening to this, looking to get some guidance on some negotiating in your business, how we relate it to real estate, we have an amazing media company as well that is fully out there and fully ready to help you grow social media, grow your digital presence, grow as a business owner, all of it in one. So there's information below on our Natale media company as well. All right, guys, let's dive into negotiating to win. Let's start with what a lot of people think when they hear the word negotiating. They think hard-lined, just line in the sand, being an asshole. That's what they think negotiating is, right? Like when you think of like negotiators, you think of like tough, just bravado and all this other stuff. Here's what I'm going to tell you. First thing in this episode is someone who's been doing this 16 years, put together damn near 1,000 deals in real estate. This is what I'm going to tell you. Negotiating couldn't be further from that. Great negotiating couldn't be further from that bravado, tough line in the sand type of bullcrap that you see out there. It doesn't mean you're a pushover. It doesn't mean other people get what they want. It means being very skilled in one key area is how you actually negotiate very, very well. And it is not in being tough. It is not in saying take it or leave it. It is in asking the right questions. If you can ask the right questions as a negotiator in any field, but especially in real estate, you will out-negotiate every single person you meet if you ask the right questions. And when I say out-negotiate, I don't mean take advantage of people. I mean you will put deals together and you will close deals and you will get paid and compensated for doing so. I don't care how many listings you have. If it's not an environment where you're getting 15 offers anymore, if you can't negotiate with the buyer's agent, that listing it literally costs you money to do it. If you're working with a buyer that you can't negotiate a deal with a listing agent and you're working on going on 2 years with them, you're wasting your damn time. Negotiating is the most important. But once you actually have business, if you want to close it, being able to negotiate well and problem solve and ask the right questions is the most important skill you have to get paid, to get to the closing table, to finalize helping people. So if you can't negotiate, or you just don't have much experience in it, or you're coming into this industry 2020, 2021, no issues with when you came in. However, it's just a different environment where everything was just best and final on your listings. All buyers were, okay, we're one of 5 offers, we're one of 3 offers, we're one of 50 offers. How are we going to structure that? There was very little to no negotiating happening. Maybe you had to negotiate some inspection fixes, or maybe you relied on the attorneys to do that. But right now is such an important phase. A lot of the country, I shouldn't say the market's not crashing. The market's not even really correcting. I just saw the recent report. We just hit all-time highs in terms of prices. So prices are continuing to increase nationally. But much of the country looks a lot different than it did a couple years ago. And some of the country is in a correction, right? Some of the southern states, Texas, parts of California are straight up correcting right now. So that means when you don't have multiple offers on every property, or you don't have multiple offers on most properties, that means you're going to be in a negotiation on most deals. And the important thing, and I was just on a coaching call with one of my coaching clients about this, it is so important. Negotiating is not that tough line in the sand. It's so important that you understand this, is the asking of the right questions. And if you don't ask the right questions, you're never going to be able to truly negotiate a deal in anyone's favor. Doesn't mean you'll never put a deal together. But if you want to win for your clients, win business, and win referrals, so your clients absolutely love the way it happens and deals happen with you, being a great negotiator is where it's at. So let's start with some really tactical stuff here. What types of questions do we need to ask? And I'm going to go through kind of every single time, whether it's a buyer or seller, I'm going to go through both sides. The questions I ask when a buyer wants to put in an offer, and also when you have a listing and you get an offer on a property. So let's start with, you're working with a buyer. They're looking to buy a house. They want to put an offer in. Are you asking, before you even put the offer in, are you asking your buyer the right questions? Or do you just take an order and then go fill out a contract? So when they say, okay, we're thinking about offering $500 on this house that's asking $499, $900. Okay, great. The key here is to start picturing to your buyer that there are several different things that could happen. And you know what? I'm going to change that example. They want to offer $480 on a $499, $900 house. There's a few things you need to go over with the buyer. And obviously you need to get information from the listing agent. But you need to talk to the buyer, like, have you crunched your numbers? Have you gotten pre-approved? All those different things. Like, have you talked to your mortgage lender about this specific house and this specific offer? The reason being is a lot of people just throw out numbers, right? The 480, 490, whatever. But if you go 480 on one house and then you go, and their taxes are, say, $5,000 a year, and then you go to the next house at $490, you want to offer $490, but their taxes are $3,500 for the year. I pretend you're not in New Jersey for this example. And then you go to the third house that needs a ton of work, but you're going to offer $470, and the taxes again are back at $5,000. None of all buyers, the way they look at it, they all look at it the same, but it's not the same. And the first thing you have to do in a negotiation is get your buyers off of the number in which they're offering and get them to their total out of pocket, so their down payment, their closing costs, plus their monthly payment. Because again, every house has different taxes, insurance, is in an HOA, not in an HOA. All these different things are very important. So before a buyer even thinks about an offer, you want to get them thinking numbers. Because if you can get them thinking numbers, the difference in $5,000, $7,000, $10,000, even $20,000 is not that dramatic. But when you say, like, I'm going to pay an extra $20,000, that sounds real. If they're not buying cash, I do not let them think in those numbers. That's the most important thing you have to do as a buyer's agent, is get your buyers to really understand this is about your total out of pocket and your monthly expenses. And if you're looking at different properties, making sure as we're touring them, this isn't even waiting until negotiating, this one would be around this much per month. Again, because especially here in New Jersey, sometimes people will go from one town, taxes will be $7,000, and then for the same exact price point, it'll be $12,000. That's not the same monthly payment. That's not even the same affordability, right? That's a huge difference in your monthly payment for the same price home. Some people will go into a house and say, oh, it needs a little bit of work, but that little bit of work is going to cost them $80,000 of cash, unless they're obviously doing a construction loan, but those are tough, so most people have to use their cash. Versus a house that is a little bit more move-in ready, that's maybe $30,000 higher price-wise, but you don't have to put a dollar into it. So are you going to adjust your down payment for the one? Are you not going to adjust? Or are you just looking at this and saying, oh, it's a cheaper price, but then you have to put the money in? So asking the right questions to the buyers, are they sure about, with what they want to offer, what that monthly payment looks like and what their total out-of-pocket expenses are? And if they're not, and you're comfortable having that conversation, have that conversation. But realistically, most people should push that back to the lender. All right, go connect with John, the lender, one more time. Run these numbers through as I prepped all the paperwork for the offer and also speak to the listing agent, right? So then the key here is to talk to the agent about what the seller's situation is. I can't tell you, as someone who still lists some homes, I'm not nearly as active as I used to be. One of the things that blows my mind about today's agents, and guys, I'm 34 years old. I'm not some boomer, been doing this 40 years. I've been doing 16. I've had a lot of experience, but again, not from like an older generation. But one of the things that bothers me, not about age-wise, it's not just young people. I actually find young people are the opposite. New agents today do not reach out, buyer's agents do not reach out to the listing agent to ask questions. I will just get an email in my inbox. that just says, hey, here's our offer, without any sort of conversation with me about what the seller situation is, what's going on, anything like that. And even properties that don't have multiple offers. I get it on multiple offers to a certain degree, but if you have multiple offers, how are you still not at least finding out what the seller ideally wants? So when I reach out to a listing agent as a buyer's agent, my first question is, obviously, in our market, is there other offers on the property already? Are there any written offers on the table? I don't really care what their answer is. If they tell me 15, 5, 3, I really could care less. If there is, then I ask right away. I don't ask what their offer is. I say, okay, are any of them cash? No matter what my client's situation is. And they'll say yes or no. Okay, great. And do any of them have contingencies or most of them non-contingencies for the home sale? And I'll let them answer that question. And again, that's really just fact finding. So I can then go back to my buyer and know what we kind of have to do to get it. After that, I will say, well, I notice the sellers are still in the house. Do they have somewhere to go? Do they already have a house? Do they have to find something? What is their situation? Listing agent will tell their situation, whether, coming from New Jersey, they're moving down to the Carolinas. They're moving down to Florida. They're buying an adult community nearby. They already closed on a house. They just need to move their stuff. That answer is pretty important, right? I don't find, probably about 90% of agents don't even ask it. Like, what is actually the seller doing here? If they're out of the house, is it an estate sale? Do the kids own it and want to sell it quick? Do they need the money? Is something going on? That needs to be identified, even if the house is empty. So asking the seller situation is first. Then, whatever that situation is, what is their timeline to do so? Are they looking to close in 30 days? Are they looking to close right away? Do they want a little bit of time? Are they going to need a rent back? Asking these questions is so important. And as a buyer's agent, I'd argue you really can't negotiate on your client's best behalf without knowing some of this information. So, Mr. Listing Agent, what is the seller situation? Where are they looking to go from here? Ask that question. After that, what's their time frame to do so? We've already found out if they have other offers or not, if those other offers are cash, if those other offers have contingencies. And then the last question is, what is the seller's ideal offer here? I always ask it directly. I'm not asking for what price they want, but what's their ideal offer? And most listing agents will give you they want as much money as possible, just as much as all of us do. But they'll typically, again, because they're not experienced in how to handle this, they'll typically actually say, if they can close in 60 days, maybe not price isn't the most important, but if they can close in 60 days and have a rent back for 30, like that would be amazing to them. Or, you know what, they're already out of the house, they're moving down to Carolinas, they're closing next week, so if we can close in 30 days so they don't have to pay for the house for too long, that would be really powerful for them. This is all so important, and this is actually how you negotiate. Nothing I did here was take an order from a buyer, go to the listing agent and say, hey, we're offering $480. I know you're asking $499. I don't give a shit what the seller's situation is. Here's our offer. But that's how so many goddamn agents negotiate right now. And it's okay. If that's how you've negotiated, that's okay. Let's get better. Let's improve. Let's get better. Let's say right now, June of 2024, or whenever you're listening to this, I am going to get better at negotiating and I'm going to start asking the right questions. Because once you know where the seller is going, what their time frame to get there is, and you ultimately know what their ideal offer is, you can then go back to the buyer and have a wealth of information and share with them and say, hey, seller is moving down to the Carolinas. They're closing next week. They don't really want the house to be carried over too long, is from what the listing agent said. They don't have any other offers on it right now. So I think if we come in quick with like a 30-day close, we're putting a good amount down, maybe a couple terms about inspection, because if they're already moving, maybe they don't want to be bothered with someone, dragging them around in an inspection. So maybe we'll limit that a little bit, but maybe not go full price, go a little bit under. And I think that we have a decent chance of getting this, right? You can't read a situation until you know what the situation is. Rather than how most agents do this is, okay, so what do you think about offering? Let me go crunch the comps. Again, everything has to be within reason. That's part of it too. But agents will just go crunch the comps, go back to the buyer and be like, here's the closed sales. I think we should start at $485. Well, that might be fine on the comps, but what is it really in relation to what the seller wants and what the seller's time frame is? We all know if you've negotiated more than 10 or 15 deals in real estate, price is a big one, but the terms of the contract are just as big for a lot of people. So if you don't know what the seller's ideal offer is as a buyer's agent, man, you're going to struggle to negotiate deals. You're going to end up having to put in more offers for your buyers, and the experience for them is going to be a lot harder. This isn't about finding the right house or anything. This is about when you identify a house that's a good fit for a buyer, being able to negotiate a damn good deal that people feel like they're both winning. So you put the offer in, right? and this is one key area, and I'm going to go to the listing side as well, the questions to ask, but we have to stop looking at the other side as an adversarial opponent. Your listing agent that you're working with, when you're the buyer's agent, is more or less a partner to you. You guys have to problem solve together, ultimately, to get a deal done. Because there's going to be plenty of times where a buyer only wants to pay this, a seller only wants to pay that, and it's going to take a phone call. Yes, pick up the damn phone. We're going to go off topic for a second here. When you are negotiating, truly negotiating, I'm not saying you can't use text. I text everybody. I kind of hate when people give me a phone call. But when I'm negotiating, I pick up the damn phone. I do not negotiate over text. You cannot read tone. You cannot read how people are saying things. You need to pick up the phone to negotiate. So when you're in these like tight little last pockets of negotiating, it is so important for you to pick up the phone. And what I typically do, if you're in that little small gap, you're the buyer's agent, you have the listing agent, you guys have been working hard, you're $7,000 apart. What I typically like to say to the listing agent is, hey, if I got my buyer to split the difference here, or go up $2,000, or buy some of the furniture from the seller, or move the closing date back 2 weeks, whatever that last little nugget is, within reason. If we take some of that on, right? So if they wanted a month extra and we took 14 days, if they wanted to sell all their furniture, but we'll take on half, whatever it is, you get the point here. We're willing to meet in the middle. Do you think the seller would go for it? And most listing agents already know. And especially even if you don't know what the buyer is willing to do, you'll know from what the listing agent tells you if the seller is willing to do it. So then you're able to go back to your buyer, and rather than say like, hey, you need to go from $490 to $495 to get this, you go back to the buyer and say, hey, they're at $500, we're at $490. They're not budging, you're not budging. However, I have a good feeling, or the listing agent informed me, or hey, the seller is countered, whatever it is, we can get this deal done today at $495. It is literally in your hands now. That's typically what holds people back, especially buyers, if I'm going to be honest, from going up that last little bit. Because they think, hey, if I go to $495 and I'm at $490, they're just going to keep sitting at $500, which could happen. But if they have a ticket that actually gets them there, where you're able to say, hey, that will get you the house, which you need to get that information from the listing agent, that's the little bit you need to get this deal done. And then you will get the deal done. Like, if I'm being honest, if you ask the right questions to the listing agent from the buyer's agent side, you go back to the buyer with great information about what the exact seller situation is, all this stuff, and then be able to put together a strong offer meeting some of those terms. Hey, we met 5 of the 6 that you really wanted, but this 6th one we couldn't do just because of this. You will have a good shot at putting deals together. We are experts at this. Most deals, most offers we put in where we're able to negotiate, as long as things are reasonable, we put the damn deal together and we close the deal. Because a lot of people feel like they're winning. By asking the right questions, you open up the door for your buyers to win. Now let's go to the seller side. When you're representing a seller, how many times we get an offer and we want to just go run to the seller right away with very little information about it, other than the terms? What is the seller's first question every single time? Who are the buyers? What's their story? And again, we're not here to discriminate, judge. However, getting a little bit of a picture of the buyer is really important to the seller, and it's really important to get a deal done here. So if you're in an area where the market is not moving, you got houses on the market for 30, 60 days, and then you're getting an offer, if you fuck this up, you may lose out on your chance to sell the house. Coming from someone who worked from 2008 to 2019 before things went crazy. Again, some of those years were definitely a seller's market here in New Jersey. But if I go back to like 2013, 2014, 2015, if I listed a house and it got an offer around day 35 and I fucked up that negotiation, we weren't selling that house. And I wasted all my damn money and time on the 3 months or 6 months it was listed. Realize that. That's where we are in some of your markets across the country. If you mess up this negotiation, you are not going to get paid. So as a listing agent, when you get an offer, I don't care what the damn offer is. This is one thing that really grinds my gears too. We just had it happen. I'm going to give you an example. I don't care if it's 50,000, 100,000 under. I don't care if it's 10% under. I don't care if it's for $2 and they're asking $1 million. I don't care where the offer starts. I care where it's going to finish. So when you get an offer, I always call the buyer's agent up, say, hey, I appreciate you sending the offer. Just had a couple questions about your buyers and kind of what their expectations are here. Again, most buyer's agents aren't prepped for this. So you offered, just kind of recap the offer. You offered 480, we're asking 500. So it came in 5% under. I know the typical right now in our MLS is about 98. So you offered 5% under. Looks like they want to close in August. Are they firm on that closing date? Do they have flexibility here? Buyer's agent will answer. I saw they're putting about 10% down. Do they have excess amount just in case it underappraises? What's kind of their thought towards all that process? Buyer's agent will typically answer and usually give really good intel to you as a listing agent. I also see here, it looks like it's a husband and wife. Do they have any kids? They need to be in by the school year, any of that type of stuff. Buyer's agent will answer. And then you have a good amount of information that you can go back to the seller and say, hey, got this offer. I know it's 5% off. However, it's a family. They're looking to buy here. They have nothing to sell. They're pretty flexible on the closing. They understand that the kitchen's a little bit older and they're going to have to do a little bit of reno here. So it seems like it's a good fit that wise if we can get the price up, right? And now your seller will give a response. And again, because you went out and got that information for them, you made the decision-making process a lot easier. That is one of the most important parts of negotiating. And then the seller, no matter what the offer is, this is what I tell every single seller. We just had one that was $899, and the initial offer that came in, and again, our market's pretty hot. Initial offer that came in was $830. $830. Under asking is almost like an insult in our market still. Like people think it is. It's really not, especially for, a property that's not selling with 15 offers. But this wasn't an overpriced listing. This was priced on. It was just on a busy road. So you need that particular buyer. So the seller's initial reaction was I picked up the phone, and again, this is New Jersey. You might not talk to your clients this way, or your clients might not talk to you this way. Picked up the phone, emailed them the offer, picked up the phone, and I had to hold it away from my ear because the husband and wife both were literally on the same phone call, same speakerphone. What the fuck are you thinking sending us this offer? Who the fuck do these people think they are? Fuck them, fuck you, fuck everybody. I can't believe that people would put such an insulting offer in. And obviously, after so much experience with this and seeing a different side of the market, I almost kind of laugh at it rather than hold it personal that I just got told to fuck off. But I literally go back to the seller. I said, listen, I don't care where the offer starts. I care about where they finish. Do you agree? And the seller's going to agree with you. Like, you have to disarm a little bit. And then I'm going to say, this is way too low. This is insulting. It's disgusting. It's not the right offer for us. However, if they got to an ultimate price in which you'd be willing to accept it, are you okay with that? And they typically always say, yes, this price is terrible. Okay, great. So I go back to the agent. I go, hey, my sellers just told me to go fuck myself because of how bad this offer is. I think the terms are good. I like this about it. The sellers agreed that they like this about it too, but the price is so bad that we can't even really consider it. But here's the thing. I'm not going to shut the door on the negotiation. We're going to counter it. Only a few $1,000. We're going to go to $895. However, if you come back with anything insulting, it's going to be hands off. We're not going to negotiate this anymore. But if you come back realistically, then, I think we can get a deal done. And by the way, we do have 10 showings set up this weekend, which is true. Like, again, I'm not lying and BSing that. It was true. We're sitting about a weekend. And I said, listen, we have 10 more showings set up this weekend. So I'm not going to waste too much time in a negotiation that I don't think is going to play off if you're going to stay down at that number. Again, this person is your partner. You need them. If you just call back and say, you know what, my seller told me to go F myself. So you know what, you sent in the crappy offer. You go F yourself. Goodbye. You know what the buyers did? They went up to $895. They accepted the counter. $830 to $895. Did I use hard line in the sand like you guys are terrible human beings? Go fuck yourself to them? No. I said that the offer was not well received, the price, but here were a couple things that they did like. So if we can improve this one aspect of it, and I could see you sent a pre-approval that they can afford it, I think we can do this. Kept it positive. Let them know firmly that this was never going to be acceptable. And if they stay in this range, it's never going to be acceptable. I reiterated how much activity we have. They came up to the number, and we literally just closed yesterday, and we just got over a $20,000 check. But if I took how my sellers responded to me, responded that way to the buyer's agent, might still be on the market. Might not have gotten paid. We're not in this financial situation, but some are. Might not have paid my mortgage this month. Maybe the business closed. A lot across the country are in those dire straits when it comes to this business right now. We're not even close to it. But if you are, those negotiations matter. And if you're not able to really, really dive into a negotiation and act on the best behalf and also know what you're doing in terms of negotiating and asking the right questions, you could be out of the business. Some people can't mess this up. Some people can't let a listing sit. So making sure you are identifying the issues is the most identifying everyone's situation before you start negotiating is the most important part of negotiating. Other great tips, I'm just going to kind of run through them. And if you listen this long, I appreciate you. It's never my client. Guys, stop. Nothing grinds my gears more. I think I already used that for before. So this is number 2. Second most thing in a negotiation that really grinds my gears. Such a boomer phrase. People referring to the client they are working with as their client. You're not possessive over them. You don't own them. And when you say my client, my buyer, my seller, you take possession of them. And psychologically, you take possession of their feelings, their emotions, and all of that. We are paid so we're not emotional. Again, think about like when your brother is buying a house, or your mother is selling her house, or your son is buying a house. It is going to be more emotional for you. But a client is not necessarily your son every time, or your mother every time. So please, one basic thing you could start doing today, and I hope it just gets instilled into your head, is stop calling them my client and start calling them the client. So when I put together an offer and I send an offer to the listing agent, we have our entire offer template and it says the buyer that I am working with is presenting this offer. It doesn't say my buyer, my client, my anything, because I don't own them, I don't possess them, but it is just natural to talk that way. So I'm not saying you're wrong if you are already in that mindset that you did this, but now you know that you should not be having that possession over them, because then you take on their feelings and all their emotions, and that's what you're being paid to not do. So it's very, very important that you get this down. It's very, very important that you start referring to clients as the client, the buyer, the seller, the investor, the estate. Everything is the. Another great tip for when you are in that tough, last bit of a negotiation, or you just can't get to a meeting of minds, is to, again, pick up the phone and ask the other side. So ask the listing agent if you're the buyer's agent, or ask the buyer's agent if you're the listing agent. What do we have to do from your end to get a deal here? Like, what can we do together? Like, how can we problem solve this together? My client wants this, your client wants that. When this isn't a, hey, just give up your commission type of thing. This is a lean on the other side to problem solve. And throw out ideas. Hey, if I got them up $2,000 plus they bought the furniture. Hey, if I got them up $1,500 plus this happened. Hey, if they agreed to limit the inspections to major structural, environmental, and mechanical, would that put this deal together? It's so important for you to ask these extra little bits of questions in a really tough negotiation or in a final point of negotiation. I see so many people that just, I don't know if it's a generational thing or just a technology thing. People get so scared of trying to figure out that last little bit. And I think one of the reasons I've had such success in making sure that deals close is not because we're giving in everything. It's because I'm unrelenting in figuring out a solution to the problem. And some deals don't come together, guys. It's okay. Some deals fall through at inspections. Some fall through during appraisals. Some lose their job and don't get a mortgage. Deals fall through. But what I hate, and what I've hated over 16 years, is the deals that shouldn't fall through, that fell through just because someone didn't pick up the phone or someone didn't ask the right question. That shit doesn't sit well with me. Another great little question to ask, again, I want to be as tactical as possible, is even when you do get a low offer, or you get any offer on your house, or now I said your house, on the listing that you have, when you get that offer on the listing, a lot of people, especially if you're in a market where, prices are going down, a lot of people get right back with, oh my God, it's so low. A much better question to the buyer's agent is, oh, I appreciate you sending the offer. I see you sent one for $450. We're asking $500. Hey, can you do me a little bit of help? So when I talk to the sellers, could you send me the comps you use for that one? Very nonchalant, very much not a, wow, I can't believe you sent such a low offer, jerk off. Very simply saying, hey, I'm going to be talking to the seller later. I know I crunched the comps when we brought this to market, but I want to see what you're looking at with that offer you put in. And if they have them, that makes it for an easy conversation with the seller. Hey, I know we're asking $500, and hey, I know you could have gotten $525 in 2022 for it, but we're in the end of 2024. The market's a little bit different here. Prices have come down, and at the same time, prices could go down further. They put in an offer at $450, and here's the three that they looked at that closed that look realistic to them. Do you agree with them? They're going to ask you for your input. You're going to give your input. You're the professional. But so many people don't know how to do this. And this is the stuff, if you're not in that multiple offer bidding war every single house, you need to know some of these skills if you're going to close deals. I absolutely think personal brand marketing, all this other stuff is so important in today's market. But once you have the business, you need to know how to negotiate to get a deal done. So I've given you a lot this episode from both sides of the transaction. I hope some of it soaks into you. I hope that you make even just one or two small changes to the way you negotiate after listening to this episode. And I genuinely hope if you are looking for guidance, you're across the country, you're doing well, and you want to get to the next level, I genuinely hope you consider joining our Natale family.